Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Harold Holzer, and I have the honor to serve as director of Roosevelt House. On behalf of Hunter College President Jennifer Rabb, I want to welcome you to this historic and still functioning place, as you have seen. It's always a pleasure to welcome the National Center here, particularly to welcome my friend and colleague Bill Herbert and the board, on which I served for a few years myself. I want to especially extend the greetings of President Rabb, from whom you'll hear tomorrow, I know, at the Kaye Playhouse. But she wanted me to send her best at the very beginning of your session. Some of you may know that she created a home for the National Center here at Hunter, and more recently here at Roosevelt House 2 decades ago, committed our school to its growth, and wanted to send congratulations to the organization and to Bill on its 50th anniversary. Not your 50th anniversary, but its 50th anniversary. And a shout out, particularly another shout out to Jen Gabori, who has done so much as a member of the Professional Staff Congress at CUNY to fight for budgetary restoration in this fraught year. So Jen, whatever happens, you fought the good fight, and so far it seems to be happening. We did, but thank you for what you do. As some of you may know, and I'm happy to just briefly tell you for those who don't, you're in the home of Franklin and Eleanor Roosevelt. It was built in 1908 as a Christmas present from FDR's mother, Sarah, to Franklin and Eleanor, and 2 of their 5 children by then. Came with a hitch, and that is that Sarah would be moving in to the house herself. The original mother-in-law problem. But the deal was that she would reside on one side of the house, the west side, and Franklin, Eleanor, and the family on the east side. The room you were in just now for the reception was the original dining room, or should I say dining rooms, because originally they were 2 rooms separated by a retractable wall. And as soon as Sarah took a look at the rooms, she said, I don't know how sincerely she meant it, she said, these are much too small for people in our exalted station. I'm, adding a little bit to it. The walls must come down. And the walls of Jericho came down. And as Eleanor said, my mother-in-law was on my side of the house for the next 25 years. ... sometimes at the least expected moments. I kind of like that because it's the only intimate reference that Eleanor ever left of their lives here. This is the house where FDR recovered from polio, where Eleanor nursed him back to health, where he took his first halting steps with braces and crutches and the aid of his son. It's where he planned his political comeback, where he rehearsed the length of hallway he'd have to walk to speak at the 1924 Democratic Convention to nominate Al Smith for president. It's where he ran his presidential campaign in 1932. It's where he gave his first fireside chat the day after Election Day, 1932, when Herbert Hoover wouldn't concede, even though he'd only won 6 states. Can you imagine a president who would not concede? Most important to your work, I would, if I could presume to say, it's where FDR ran his transition between November 6th, 1932 and March 3rd, 1933. In those days, the inaugurals were in March. And it's where he really built the foundational building blocks of the New Deal. In a small library upstairs, if you have a break or time to look, Bill, did you meet in that library? Not today, but it's on the 2nd floor if you want to have a look. So you met in the 2nd floor classroom? That was the site of the first fireside chat on the western wall. Anyway, he's meeting with prospective cabinet members, and one day, February 5th, 1933, I remember because it's my birthday, not 1933, but February 5th, Frances Perkins comes for her momentous job interview, and she knows that FDR is going to suggest or invite her to become the first woman ever to serve in a cabinet. Frances is quite a fighter. She comes armed with a set of demands. She says, "Governor, I'll do it if, ... She said, if you agree to do minimum wage, maximum hours, child labor laws, workman's compensation, and if you let me build on what we've started in New York." She was FDR's Industrial Relations Commissioner. "If you let me build on the old age pension idea." So this house is where Social Security was born. The idea, because Roosevelt said, "Are you going to pester me about this for the rest of my presidency?" And she said, "Yes." So he said, "Okay, you're in, and I agree to pursue the program you've mentioned." So it's a kind of a sacred space in so many ways. Someone reminded me of something that in 8 years here, I hadn't noticed. You may note that on the wall in back, we have the etched words of FDR's Four Freedoms, which he did not conceive here, but you were just in the Four Freedoms room. I had not realized, because people are always sitting right there in the back, that the Four Freedoms address was given on January 6th. It's just a fascinating coincidence of history. So Sarah died in this house in 1941. FDR decided he could never come back with his beloved mama gone, and he put it up tentatively for sale. Eleanor, who loved Hunter College, decided to engineer the sale of the century and got president of Hunter to put in a bid. FDR lowered the price, he contributed, and it was sold to a consortium that gave it to Hunter. In short, FDR sold it for $50,000. I know. And it became a meeting place for Hunter clubs. It deteriorated badly in the 90s after 50 years of use. And about 12 or 13 years ago, President Raab faced a choice: sell it for a quick infusion of money in the days when CUNY desperately needed money, and Hunter did too, or preserve, renovate, and repurpose. Obviously, she chose the latter path, and the result is the Roosevelt House Public Policy Institute. And we're so grateful that we've been able to house a public policy program, a human rights program, and public programs 6-7 days a week, of which you're the most recent. And sorry for all of that history, but I thought you'd like to know where you are. You're actually in the kitchens of the Roosevelt House, which Jennifer thought it would be easy to backhoe and build an auditorium. Then she found out no backhoes in townhouses in New York. So wheelbarrow by wheelbarrow, they dug down another story, and the result is this beautiful auditorium. So enjoy using it today. Thank you. Oh, Bill Herbert.
Thank you, Harold, and thank you for all you do for Roosevelt House. And I want to thank both Harold and the Roosevelt House staff for working with us in putting together this program. So my name is Bill Herbert. I'm the Executive Director of the National Center. On behalf of our Board of Advisors, I want to thank everyone for being here for our 50th anniversary conference. Our first annual conference took place 50 years ago, April 1973, at the New York Hilton. The center's longevity as a labor management center is a testament to the vision of CUNY founders, as well as the leadership of former executive directors, including my predecessor, Richard Boris, and the hard work of research staff and interns, and the support it has received from CUNY and Hunter College. The theme of this year's conference is collective bargaining in higher education, looking back and looking forward. And one of the things we're trying to do is honor those who came before us in recognizing all the work that was done, and also thinking about a vision for the future. And I hope that the panels that we've organized you find are consistent with that. And certainly having the conference at Roosevelt House provides us with a basis to think about the past. One of the things about Frances Perkins is that she wrote a memoir about FDR, and she described, this is right after World War II, described her relationship with him. And in it, though, she in her memoir, she included some observations about FDR and collective bargaining. And this is what she said. She said, FDR was not a good negotiator in a labor dispute. She explained that he was too imaginative, had too many ideas, was in too much of a hurry, and lacked the unlimited patience required in successful labor negotiations. I think we can all agree that such attributes will not work very well in collective bargaining. Am I right? So FDR was a great policymaker, but not necessarily a great collective bargaining negotiator. So now it's my honor and privilege to invite up to give welcoming remarks someone who Harold mentioned is one of my colleagues, Jen Gabori, who's the PSC chapter chair. Jen?
Thank you, Bill, Harold, and everybody else in Roosevelt's staff. Michelle, thank you so much for being here. It's a real honor to be here to welcome you on behalf of the Hunter College PSC CUNY chapter. And I am thrilled to have Bill and Michelle as my colleagues here at Roosevelt House. And I don't mind saying, as I've said to Hunter College President Rabb, and I don't mind saying in front of Harold, we're doing a little bit of, we're having some physical renegotiations and renovations and movement within the Hunter College campus. And my own hope is that this center comes to Roosevelt House. But Harold, we can talk later. So, because I would like it closer geographically. So my name is Jen Gabori. I am a faculty member in gender studies. I'm a political scientist and I teach here. And I am a full-time lecturer on an adjunct conversion line with what's called a Certificate of Continuous Employment. Which I earned after year 7, so I can only be fired for cause. I won one of these golden tickets in a contract cycle that had 300 within the contract. We could elevate 300 adjuncts to full-time lecturer positions, and I was in that cycle. And we have already expanded sort of those numbers and hope to keep doing that again. Our contract just expired, and we hope to convert more of our 11,500 adjuncts, right, to positions, right, in the full-time faculty. When we had a number of positions, full-time lecturer positions open just on the open market, we were able to wage in the past year and a half a campaign to hire from within, hire adjuncts from within, in what is sometimes, I don't have to tell you, probably a tough environment to convince tenure-line faculty to hire their own adjuncts to full-time positions, and it should not be that way. But the majority of folks that we hired on those positions were current adjuncts, and I think that is a good sign of the work that we can do. Something that Harold mentioned is we're fighting in Albany. My union does a lot of work advocating for dollars in Albany, right, which is not something that all unions do, and it's something, I wish in some ways we didn't have to do, but we do. And in fact, we helped craft a piece of legislation that's called a New Deal for CUNY, and so it's really nice to be able to talk about it here. It's the first time I think I've talked about it actually at Roosevelt House. The goal of a New Deal for CUNY, it's a pay bill of about $1.5 billion to hire new full-time faculty, get adjunct pay parity, more mental health counselors, more advisors, fix our broken campuses, more full-time faculty. And so we've been fighting for this and are advocating for it currently in our current budget cycle. That's what Harold was referring to. I took my job, I stepped in to be chapter chair when one of my colleagues was about to, at the end of his term being chapter chair, he was about to go on sabbatical, and he said, would you step in? And that was January 2020. So I was like, yeah, I'll be chapter chair, no problem. So I didn't know what was waiting for me in March, and what was sort of this side job that I got one course release for a term was about to become like my full-time job, or felt like it for about 1.5 years. And one of the things that was really important was that we all learned, and I'm sure many of you learned, how important the unions were on your campuses and how important labor rights were in your campuses in the pandemic, that really were about protecting people's lives. And it's something that sometimes even all of my colleagues don't know, is that we were hours away from a strike, actually, at the Hunter College High School site, which is within our union's bargaining unit, because the high school was back in person, and we were fighting about like whether or not there was adequate filtration in the building. And we could not get evidence there was adequate filtration in the building, and we were hours away actually from potentially having a conflict. So that is, it's really just important for the work that we do together collectively. And I really want to thank you for being here. And welcome to Hunter College. And I'm so excited about being here at this conference. Thanks.
So part of the center's structure is that we have a board of advisors. We've always had one. It's made up of both labor representatives from around the country as well as administrators from around the country. The first panel today is going to be a panel of administrators. But before we get to that panel, which is going to begin at 1, I want to start with inviting up a member of our board, Charles Toombs, who's the president of the California Faculty Association, to give his welcome remarks.
Thank you, Bill. As Bill said, I'm Charles Toombs. I'm president of the California Faculty Association and professor of Africana Studies at San Diego State University. I'm also a member of the Board of Advisors, and I really want to welcome you to this conference. It is wonderful when we can bring representatives from management and labor together to talk about the current issues, the major problems that each side has in negotiating. And I know for the California Faculty Association, since 2015, we have emphasized the central role of race and social justice in all of the work that we're doing. I think when you look at most of the unions nationally, and I will say something about this later on the panel that I'm on, you will see that, and I'm going to use the word BIPOC, even though I don't like to use it, but you all know what BIPOC means. So you will see that there has been a major increase in BIPOC women and LGBTQIA plus leaders of our unions in the academy and those that are not in the academy. And this has meant something very different in terms of the approaches that our unions are taking in bargaining. Our workplaces are not just places where we're concerned about our salary, we're concerned about our safety, we're concerned about our health, we're concerned about institutional racism and how we need to dismantle it. So our work is expanding, but it is becoming the kind of work that our academies need to become. They are so, I can't say anything nice other than to say that institutional racism and white supremacy culture dominates the academy. And we have to get rid of that. We've got to move beyond that. And as we look at these 50 years since the center has been in operation, you can certainly see in the last years of the work that we're starting to center equity. We're starting to center other voices, particularly other voices than white men who have dominated so much of the labor movement. So I welcome you to this conference where we're going to learn so much and you'll take something back to your campuses. And that's all I've got to say. Welcome.
So our board is made up of labor representatives from national unions and regional unions. And so I've asked for Dwayne Schaefer, who is the president of NEA's National Council of Higher Education, to give some welcome remarks. Dwayne is also a member of our board. Dwayne?
Good afternoon. All right, let's try that one more time. Good afternoon. I hope thank you, sir. I hope everyone is doing well. Again, my name is Dwayne Schaefer. I serve as the president of the National Council for Higher Ed, which is the higher ed arm of the National Education Association. I'm also from California, an alum of CSU, California State University. I sit on the California Teachers Association board representing community colleges throughout the state of California. Now, when I'm not doing that job, I work at Long Beach City College as a counseling faculty member. Charles Stubby said, bring the fire. I think Charles brought the fire. But I do want to say, as we're celebrating the 50th anniversary of the center, I looked at the years, 1973 to 2023. I was just a baby when the center came into existence. But it's amazing the work that the center has done over these last 50 years. This is one of my favorite conferences, not because I sit on the board, but because it does bring labor and management together. Sometimes we're on the same side of the issue, and sometimes we're not. And Bill, you know, he wouldn't tell you this unless you talk to him behind the scenes. He kind of likes that little rub, you know. Is there going to be some sparks, or is it just going to be real all, civility? So, but it is an awesome conference, definitely. So I hope that you would take the time to absorb all that there is in this conference, meet some people who you haven't met before, talk to Charles about the fire that he brought, but definitely take something back to your institutions, because we have so much happening. I would say Florida, I guess I did. But Florida is not the only hot spot. We got Iowa, we got Texas, we can go on and on and on, and other elements that are trying to rise up within our institutions in our respective states. So we must fight, we need to fight together, and we definitely will win. Have a wonderful conference, and again, welcome.
So when I came to the center a decade ago, we had on our board, we had the CUNY Vice Chancellor for Labor Relations, Pam Silverblatt, on our board. And Pam has been an incredible ally to the National Center and to me in providing guidance and understanding of working through the system that exists. And so recently, only a few weeks ago, Pam announced that she's going to be retiring. So I'd like to give a shout out to Pam Silverblatt. Pam, could you stand, please? We thank you for all your service.
It has been a great honor and privilege for me to serve on this board. I think one of the great things is that it does bring labor and management together to work collaboratively. Reflecting on 15 years, can say, apropos of Dwayne and Charles's comments, that actually I think the meetings are a little bit calmer than when I was first seated on the board. My colleague Jeff Frumkin is agreeing. And what Professor Gabori doesn't know, we don't know each other, is she was in the first round of conversion lines that I negotiated. And so I know her name for 15 years, and I was very proud when she was appointed and to see her here today.
Great.
So thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Pam. So someone who you may have seen around and is an essential person organizing this panel is our extraordinary administrator, Michelle Savarese. The center could not function, I could not function nearly as well without Michelle's energy, planning, and consistency. And so I just want to make sure that everyone, when you have an opportunity to see her, to thank her for all the work she did for this conference. Let me provide you some quick conference logistics, because I want the conference to start on, the first panel to start on time, and I'll ask Mike Egan, who's be moderating, Michael Egan, to be moderating, to give some welcoming remarks as well. He's a board member and going to be moderating the first panel. So for the logistics, first, the conference schedule, maps, and other important information are available in the conference program, okay? And it's also available on our conference website. And what I encourage you to do is to download our conference app, because our conference app has everything you need for this conference to be helpful for you, to be helpful in terms of getting around and getting the bios of the speakers and the materials. So upstairs was a way, the instructions to download the app. I encourage you to do that. We also have a helpline in case anybody cannot find their way around the main campus of Hunter, which can be challenging even for those who work here. And so this is the helpline. It's 332-215-6324. In addition to a helpline, we also have a group of volunteers and staff and family who are working the conference. They're all wearing the National Center's Research Team T-shirt. Could you please stand? Thank you. So if you, thank you very much. If you are in need of assistance in terms of figuring out where to go to the sessions you want, look for the purple T-shirt and they will provide you with assistance. So today we have panels representing basically three sides of higher ed, or at least the three primary sides of higher ed. The first panel is going to be of experienced higher education negotiators, which Michael is going to be moderating, which begins at 1. After a short break, we're then going to go to a second panel of experienced faculty leaders that will begin promptly at 2:45 and end until 4:15. The third panel will include a panel made up of experienced arbitrators who hear and determine contractual disputes in higher ed. The panel of administrators begins at 4:30. Following the panels, we hope you'll join us for a reception upstairs in the Four Freedoms room. Tomorrow, the conference begins in the morning at 9 a.m. sharp with welcoming remarks from President Rabb, as well as introductions, welcome remarks from other board members. And then we have, we're very honored to have Michael Sandel, a noted philosopher from Harvard, speaking to us at 9:30. The keynote address is at the K Playhouse, which is located at 68th Street and Lexington Avenue, and there's a map in your program to help you guide you there. In addition, after the keynote, we have a series of breakout sessions starting at 11 o'clock, and the initial sessions are going to be at the Hunters main campus. Later on, after lunch, we're going to then have 4 breakout sessions, 2 at the main campus, 2 at Roosevelt House. So, and it's all listed clearly in the program guide for you to decide what you want to have in terms of the sessions you want. Again, if you're having problems finding a particular room, look for the purple shirts and our research team. And we're very happy that everyone is here, and we really appreciate all of you for attending. So with that, I'd like to